Talk about the WNBA and the league's demise now that Caitlin Clark is no longer going to play this season. The WNBA and the Indiana Fever, Stephanie White, Amber Cox, all the way up and including, let's just keep it real, Kathy Engelbert, Adam Silver, the National Basketball Association, everybody that participated in the
The WNBA has no one to blame but itself now that Caitlin Clark's season is officially over. What began as a quad strain in May rolled into groin pain through June and July, and finally collapsed into a bone bruise in August. Her body didn't break all at once. It came apart piece by piece. Losing a 4 to one athlete like Clark isn't just an unfortunate setback. It's a crisis. The league is buckling under sloppy officiating, shaky management, and the non-stop physical punishment dealt to its biggest star.
Clark out for the remainder of the 2025 season, something we all think we knew was coming after what Stephanie White said earlier today. We couldn't be too sure until we see it for ourselves. And with this announcement from the GOAT's mouth herself, Caitlin Clark won't be returning this season, nor if the Indiana Fever make the play.
Now, furious fans are threatening boycotts, demanding refunds, and begging for answers that still haven't come. How did women's basketball's reputation fall apart after only 13 games? And what has Commissioner Kathy Engelbert said? According to many, nowhere near enough. Game after game, referees stared straight ahead while Clark was knocked off balance, shoved into screens, or grabbed by her jersey, then acted as if nothing happened. It's that blatant inaction that pushed fans over the edge.
It all started last year, in her rookie season, where she received 20% of all the flagrant fouls in the league. And most of them came from Angel Reese in the Chicago Sky. And these weren't basketball plays. They were not only fouling her, but they were getting up, laughing about it, laughing about Caitlin Clark getting assaulted. Any other work environment, people go to jail for what.
Everyone in the arena saw it unfold in real time. Possession after possession. Before Clark even touched the ball, she was double-teamed, bumped into help defense, or blasted off curls. The officials had chance after chance to step in. Instead, they swallowed the whistle. What started as isolated moments became a pattern so obvious that even the Washington Post felt forced to cover it.
WNBA and all the people that follow the WNBA and try to promote the WNBA don't understand that Caitlin Clark's game resonates with us. I say this every day, and every day I got to deal with somebody else dumb in the media. Caitlin Clark's game resonates because she's got flair, she's got flash, she's got style. I said this before, and I'll say this again. We saw Sue Bird's game. We saw Diana Taurasi's game. Kim Mulkey was Sue Bird before Sue Bird became Sue Bird. We've seen it. We haven't seen.
It wasn't one rogue team playing out of control. The player who had become the face of a sport overnight was being targeted by the entire league. That's the real issue. The athlete responsible for half of the WNBA's ratings surge, the league's biggest draw by far, was given almost no protection.
Year, I noticed how much it was just Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was taking all the hits. Caitlin Clark was taking all the abuse. But this year they've added Sophie Cunningham. She gets more flagrant fouls on her than anybody in the league besides Caitlin Clark. And Aaliyah Boston, she's been taking hits as well. But the worst thing is the consistency. So they don't call flagrant fouls, or most of the time, Caitlin Clark can be held for an entire game at a time. They don't call fouls. They don't call common fouls.
A player like that should have been treated like the investment. She clearly was. She filled arenas in Dallas, Las Vegas, New York, Chicago, and everywhere in between. Yet officials refused to grant her even the simplest calls that stars and other leagues receive without question. While TV networks signed record checks, fans watched her take physical contact that would have been an automatic foul for anyone else on the floor. Off-ball bumps, bodies crashing into her cuts, constant hand-checking that killed her movement. The whistle stayed silent.
Cover the NBA. These people that play in the NBA, these people that cover the NBA. There, I said these people, all of you. black, white, green, purple. Why don't you understand a very simple thing? Her game is dynamic. Like Diana Taurasi was like a jackass to Caitlin Clark. Why? Her game is what people are drawn to. And then you go to the personality. Her game is different than any WNBA woman ever. And she wins, and she shoots from deep. It's no different than Steph Curry. How many times we got to say?
This wasn't just annoying to watch. It was dangerous. Those constant cheap shots don't just leave a player sore. They stack up. Strained muscles weaken until they finally give way. Clark's groin burning through June and her quad tightening in May weren't random setbacks. They were predictable results of unprotected landings, awkward pivots forced by no breathing room, and repeated hits to the same areas. These are the exact stressors that create chronic injuries needing long recovery. Still, she kept playing. The alternative was empty arenas filled with fans who already bought tickets to see her, not because her body was ready. That's why the word hypocrisy keeps coming up.
It's a gut punch that basically encompasses an entire season of them. The Fever have lost so many players to injury, but obviously none bigger than Clark. And there was such a weight for this second season after her magnificent rookie season. And then, the anticipation of her possibly coming back, only for that not to happen, takes a lot of air out of the room, obviously takes a lot of energy out of the fans, and is a devastating blow for not just the Fever and
The WNBA bragged about record-breaking ticket sales, surging merch numbers, and endorsement deals tied directly to Clark's name. Yet when it came time to do the simplest part of their job, protecting the player driving that growth, they treated her like any other rookie. She wasn't.
A two-time All-Star and the 2024 WNBA Rookie of the Year has been sidelined suffering a right groin injury during the Fever's 87-77 win over the Connecticut Sun on July 15th. If you guys remember that game, Caitlin Clark put the team on her back in the winding minutes to give the Indiana Fever that lead. Clark also suffered a bone bruise at a later date during her recovery.
That carelessness from officials didn't just warp a few box scores. It set the stage for Clark's eventual collapse. And the fallout didn't stay on the court. It spread everywhere, like a wildfire no one bothered to contain.
Caitlin has worked so hard throughout this time, doing everything possible to recover and return to the court, but ultimately, time is not on our side, said Indiana Fever COO and GM Amber Cox. While we will continue working with Caitlin and provide her with every resource we have available, there is not enough time left in our season for her to safely return, and her long-term health and well-being remains our top priority. We are looking forward to having her back at full strength to start the 2026 season. Clark appeared in 13 games during the regular season, averaging 16.5 points, 8.8 assists, and 5 rebounds per game, while helping lead the team to the 2025 WNBA Commissioners.
Looking back, was Clark's sophomore season doomed from the very start? It sure feels that way. She reported quad stiffness in training camp back in May, the kind of warning sign most athletes sit out to avoid making things worse. Instead, she became the centerpiece of every media event, every marketing push, every promotional campaign. The injury worsened, turning into a groin issue less than 2 months later. By July, her entire right side was worn down. Then came the news no one wanted to hear. Clark's season was over.
This is what Caitlin wrote. I had hoped to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. I spent hours in the gym every day with the singular goal of getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I am feeling. I want to thank everyone who had my back through all the uncertainty. This has been incredibly frustrating, but even in the bad, there is good. The way fans continue to show up for me in the Fever brought me so much joy and important perspective. I'm so proud of how this team has only gotten stronger through the adversity this year. Now it's time to close out the season and claim our spot.
She never had a real chance to fight back. This wasn't one unlucky moment. It was a chain of careless choices. The most frustrating part is that she never experienced even a brief stretch of full health. She was listed as day-to-day at least 3 times, each time softened with the word precautionary. But in the WNBA, precaution often means wrapping it up, giving it a quick treatment, and sending her back onto the court by the weekend. Watching Clark play at half speed, Clark dragging herself through minutes. Felt like watching someone sprint on one leg while everyone kept insisting she was fine.
Your head, Kathy Engelbert, and the rest of the WNBA Players Association executive leadership who failed to hold officials and players accountable for the barbaric style of play the Fever and Caitlin Clark have had to endure this year. Kathy, resign.
At some point, the poor management became impossible to ignore. Any sports fan knows that when you don't let injuries heal, they only get worse. Yet Clark was pushed into heavy defensive work, back-to-back games, and long cross-country travel. That didn't create the risk of a setback. It guaranteed one. Coaches could see it. Her body language showed pain. Her first step slowed. Her drives lacked their bite. Even if the pressure to play was enormous, the medical staff's job was simple. Step in. Protect her. They didn't. They failed her.
Players and coaches of the last few days have complained without being fine-worthy about officiating. I just want to see about your thoughts on if officiating is an issue and how it can be improved, because clearly there seems to be problems or a disconnect between what players and coaches feel and what officials actually call.
Meanwhile, fans counted on seeing her every night. Arenas built entire promotions around her road games. Tickets vanished as soon as she was announced. But the truth was she wasn't ready. The league placed revenue above her long-term health, widening the gap between public confidence and private reality. She had to fill seats. She had to lift TV ratings. The warning signs were bright, but no one hit the brakes. Clark didn't fall to a freak accident. She collapsed under a season-long chain of poor decisions that stacked up over just 13 games. And fans only learned how bad it truly was when Engelbert finally spoke about Clark's season-ending injury.
Fan of sports for 60 years now. I know that no one's ever happy with officiating. All sports deal with it, but we're working hard to make sure we're putting the best product out on the court, and our officiating then can follow.
They received a polished PR statement, full of soft optimism and talk of progress, instead of a commissioner willing to face the biggest health crisis the league had seen in years. There was no acknowledgement of officiating failures, no accountability for the lack of player protection. That silence was the real sting. Clark went from delivering record-breaking ratings to spending months on the sidelines.
Against Breanna Stewart, she goes to the line 14 times. Asia Wilson goes to the line 13 times. And Aaliyah Boston can't play 20 minutes in a game without being on the bench in foul trouble. That's another problem that we're dealing with. But like I said, this year, it's not just Caitlin Clark. If you wear that Indiana Fever jersey, consider it done. The refs are not going to be fair, and they are going to cheat and do whatever it takes to do it the higher up.